Hi, third graders. I'm really excited to introduce this activity for social emotional learning to you this week because it's an activity where you get to think about each other and think about each other's strengths and write down what you think each other's strengths are. You're being asked to fill out a compliment grid, and I'm going to show you what that compliment grid looks like. There we go. Okay. So this is what the complement grid looks like. You will notice that there are 28 squares and there are 27 kids in our class. So each kid in our class has a square with their name on it. And there's one blank square. Your job by Friday is to think of one word to describe each of your classmates and write that word in their square. The word needs to be positive because we're complimenting on each other's strengths. So it should be a word that is kind and that's positive and that is specific. We don't want to use a word for somebody that doesn't actually really fit their personality. Once I have the grids from everybody by the end of Friday, I will take all of the words for each kid and I'm going to put them together into like this cool word art. And then I'll send that to you next week. And it'll be a way for you to remember your class this year and to remember what the great things that your classmates think of you. This is a way to show you're caring for each other, to show how well you know each other. And it's just a way to think back on your wonderful classmates this year. Okay, so I'm going to show you an example of how I would do this. And I'm going to X out of our class. I am going to do a 2 square character grid for 2 characters in chapter books that we read together this year during our end of the day read aloud. And what I want you to notice as I choose words for these 2 characters is that I'm not just writing down the first word that comes to mind. I'm really going to think carefully and choose a word that I think really matches that person, that character, shows how much I care about them, shows how well I know them, and really works to name one of their strengths so that it's a compliment, so that it helps them feel good about themselves. Okay, so the first character I'm going to try to find a word for is the character Stella from The One and Only Ivan. We didn't get to finish this chapter book together, which I'm extremely sad about. It's one of my favorite books to read aloud to third graders. But we did really get to know the character Stella very well. Stella was the older female elephant who was a really close friend to Ivan. I'm going to think about Stella, and the things that I remember about Stella are that she was a great friend to Ivan. I remember her being very wise. Like she just had really smart advice to give to Ivan. And I remember her being so caring towards Ruby, the baby elephant that came. So I already have a couple of words I could use. I could use the word wise and I could use the word caring. I could use the word a good friend. That's 3 words, but I could use a good friend. But I have this list of positive character traits that I'm also going to look through, and you have this also, just to see if there are any other words that I think really fit Stella the best. So I'm going to read from the top: kind, generous, enthusiastic. I don't think Stella is particularly enthusiastic. Enthusiastic means you're like really excited and you're happy about everything and you're ready to give everything a try. I think that's a wonderful character trait. I can think of some kids in our class who are enthusiastic. I don't think Stella is enthusiastic, so I'm not going to choose that for her. Responsible. She is very responsible. Brave, honest, hardworking, imaginative, intelligent, trustworthy. She's very trustworthy towards Ivan. Optimistic, unselfish, considerate, helpful, encouraging, polite, careful, ambitious, modest, reliable, clever. There's some great words on this list. If you're not sure what some of these words mean, you can talk to your family members and they can help you figure out what they mean. I don't know. I'm looking over this list and I feel like I feel like wise is the one that I want to go with. So I'm going to minimize this. So you could do this two ways. You could just type in to the grid and then send me a saved version of that document when you're done with it. Or you could have your family print off the grid if you have a printer at home. And you can just write the words in, take a picture of that, and send that to me too, whichever way works easier for your family. So I'm just going to write the word wise for Stella. Okay, now I want to think about one of my favorite characters of all time, Alvin from Alvin Ho. Okay, Alvin is definitely not wise. I mean, maybe he will be later. Wise is not a word that I would choose to describe Alvin, but he does have many other positive character traits. So I'm going to think about Alvin for a minute. I remember that Alvin is very afraid of a lot of things, but in order to help himself be less afraid, he's really well prepared. He has his PDK, his personal disaster kit, that's filled with materials just in case there's some kind of a disaster. He'll be ready for it. So he is prepared, which is a positive character trait for sure. I'm also thinking about the time that he was scared. There are a lot of times that he's scared to tell the truth about mistakes that he's made. And he gets very worried and nervous about that. And then eventually he does tell the truth. So he works up some bravery and some courage, and he does tell the truth that he needs to tell. So I don't think honest is a word I'd give him because he's not always honest right away, but he is brave and he does eventually tell the truth, even though it's very scary for him. So brave and prepared are two words that I could use for Alvin. I'm going to think about those words for a second because I bet Alvin already knows that he's prepared. I mean, he's making his personal disaster kit, he's got his rules for everything. I bet he knows that about himself. And since I'm pretending like he's a classmate, I really want to help Alvin know what his strengths are. I might choose the word that maybe he doesn't know about himself as well. I bet if you said, Alvin, what are some of your strengths? I bet he wouldn't say brave right away. And it might be important for him to know that other kids, other people do think that he's brave. That might help him be more brave later on in his life. So I'm going to write the word brave for him because I want to help him be even more brave than he needs to be. Okay. So that's it. So you get to now look at the list of kids in your class and think of a positive word to describe each person in the class. Please make sure you fill one out for every kid, even if you don't think you know them super well. I bet if you really take a moment to think about them, you'll come up with some positive character traits. And you have that list of positive character traits to help you also. Okay, send that to me by Friday. Let me know if you have any questions. And I'm just super excited to see what you come up with, and I'm really excited to put together the word art for all of you and send those to you next week. Okay, thank you so much. See you later.